The dust of the dry season hung heavy over the road between Ibarra-Oke and Ilesha. Joseph Babalola, a young man with calloused hands and a practical mind, wiped sweat from his brow as he bent over the failed engine of his steamroller. The mechanical heart of the great iron beast was silent, and frustration was beginning to simmer within him. He was a man of earth and iron, a driver for the public works department, and problems were meant to be fixed with tools and grit. But this problem was different. A sudden, unnatural wind kicked up, not from the sky, but from the very ground, swirling the red dust into a frantic, choking vortex that surrounded him. The world narrowed to that cloud of earth and air. And then, a sound. It was not carried on the wind, it was the wind. It was a voice that vibrated in his bones, clear and terrifyingly immense. I am the Lord God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I am your God. Terror, pure and primal, seized Joseph. He dropped his wrench, his hands trembling. I am sending you to preach the gospel and to heal the sick. The voice was not asking. It was declaring a new reality, etching a new destiny onto his soul. He fell to his knees, unable to stand in the presence of such raw authority. Your name shall be Ayo Babalola. Joseph, the son of his father, was gone. The whirlwind ceased as suddenly as it had begun. The silence that followed was louder than any engine. Joseph Ayo stumbled to his feet, his heart hammering against his ribs. He abandoned the steamroller, the road, his old life, and ran. He ran all the way home to Odo-Owa, but he could not outrun the voice. For days it followed him, speaking, instructing, until the fear finally melted into awe-struck surrender. The bricklayer, the driver, was gone. The apostle was born. He found a home amongst the faithful of the Faith Tabernacle in Lagos, a band of believers who prayed for healing and sought the spirits of the ancient apostles. They recognized the fire in him, a fire he himself could not fully contain. It began with prayer, endless hours on his knees, his voice a constant murmur seeking the face of God. Then, the miracles started, not small things, but wonders that shook the foundations of villages. He would stand by a river bank, a simple man in simple clothes, and call upon the name of his God. The water, he declared, would become a conduit of grace. And it did. The sick drank it and were healed. The crippled were carried into the shallow streams and emerged walking. News traveled not by newspaper or radio, but on the feet of the amazed. From one village to the next, a man of God is here. He speaks with power, he heals. The great gathering at Oke-Oye in Ilesha was no longer just a rumor, it was a tidal wave of humanity. Thousands poured into the town, a river of the desperate, the curious, and the faithful, all flowing toward the solitary figure who prayed with a fervor they had never witnessed. Night after night, the air itself seemed to crackle with a tangible presence. Songs of praise mingled with cries of joy as withered limbs straightened and fevers broke. Whispers spread through the crowd, hushed and astonished, he even raised the dead. For years, he was the blazing torch under the banner of the Apostolic Church, guided by British missionaries. But the flame he carried was uniquely Nigerian, forged in the heat of the Yoruba sun and born of a direct, divine encounter. The time came when the torch needed its own lampstand. In 1941, with other mighty men like the wise J.B. Akinyele, he helped build that lampstand, the Christ Apostolic Church. He was their first apostle, their spiritual general, but he was never a man behind a desk. He was a man of the field, his pulpit a tree stump or a flatbed truck, his cathedral the open air. He grew older, his once robust frame wearing the thinness of a lifetime of fasting and travel, but his eyes never lost their fiery light. On a Saturday in July 1959, the voice that had called him home 31 years earlier finally called him to his eternal rest. The news of Apostle Ayo Babalola's passing swept across the nation, a profound silence following the shockwave. But the story did not end there. For the thousands he had healed, the millions he had inspired, and the church he helped found, the truth of his name lived on. The Lord had indeed come to stay. And the joy, the ire, of his legacy, a flame fanned by a whirlwind in a dusty road, continues to burn brightly, a beacon in the heart of African Christianity.